Howdy and welcome back to Morrigan's Creations. And whilst I was looking through some of my old miniatures, I came across this, which is the Gretchen and Runthird kit, which came out in I think 2018. I am missing one, I don't know where that one's gone. But these are actually the first miniatures I ever painted. And if you've been with us on the channel for a little while, you'll know that about 9 months ago I made a video about comparing yourself to yourself. And in that video I went and took one of my old orcs, stripped it down and I repainted it to see how far I'd come. And obviously it's quite clear that I made a lot of improvement. And recently I have been self-doubting a little bit, and so I decided that I was going to do it again, but I was going to start with some new models and I was going to do a quick comparison once again. And I also wanted to talk about progress. And whilst I'm nattering on, you're actually going to be seeing me painting that newest model. So the first thing that I wanted to bring up, because like I say, I want this to be about progress and hopefully to motivate you to keep going. And believe it or not, I have actually come a little bit prepared. I've got some bullet points here. But the first thing that I want to talk about is about the fear of making mistakes when it comes to painting. You might have bought a very expensive model, you might have a bit of a cheaper model. Doesn't have to be Warhammer, can be anything. Now personally for me, this is something that I still experience a little bit. When I actually come to paint a model, be it an expensive one or a cheap one, I always have an expectation in my head of what I want it to look like. And I am terrified of it not going to that expectation. But the thing that I've learned to do is to just paint it anyway, see where it goes. It might not be the best, it might not turn out how you wanted it to. But as corny as it sounds, you've got to make the mistakes to make progress. If you realise that you've made a mistake while you're still working on it, you can try your best to fix it, but if not, nothing wrong with that, keep painting. If it's a cheap model, save it, or even just take photos of it. And then if you want to, you can strip it down and you can always try again. In the video from 9 months ago, I also mentioned that you shouldn't really compare yourself to others except yourself. And my mind has kind of changed about that slightly. I would say compare your work, but not in a negative way. If you're going to look at the work of Sergio Calvo, Ninjon, Squidmore, people like that, don't just look at what they've done and say, I can't do that, I'll never be as good as them. Because that's not going to make you progress. What you want to be doing is looking at what they've done and in a sense trying to dissect exactly what they've done. Most of them have videos these days, obviously everybody in the examples I gave does. But you're going to want to look at what they've done and trying to implement that into your own painting. Obviously if it's a style that you don't like, you don't have to. But that's something that I've been learning to do, watching what other people are doing, figuring out what I like about their styles, trying to dissect it and implement it into my own painting. In other words, nick it. And chances are there's going to be a fair few failures when you try this. You try and follow non-metallic metals. I tried it before, it didn't work. I tried it again, it didn't work. And it was only until I did the Kroxigor video that I finally sort of figured out what I was doing. But in between the failures and actually figuring it out, I was watching a ton of videos. I was going through YouTube, I was watching all different kinds of artists from all over the world. Some of them, videos with talking, other ones without narration, and just trying to pinpoint exactly what I was doing wrong. So to sort of summarise that point of, should you compare yourself to others? Yes, but only in a good way. The next thing that I want to talk about really is the fact that techniques actually evolve, and they evolve throughout time, sometimes becoming simpler, other times becoming a bit more complicated. So for example, Slapchop, forever hailed as the fastest way to paint a tabletop ready miniature. And just look how much that's changed. A lot of people have started to take it further, Slapchop but with extra steps. Adding on extra highlights, even figuring out how to do non-metallic metal with contrast paints. And if you watch some of my videos before, you'll know that I went for slap chop quite a bit. And obviously, like I say, things evolve, and obviously as an artist I've evolved as well. So something to bear in mind is you're going to evolve, the way you paint is going to change, and obviously new techniques are going to come and go, and you shouldn't be afraid to try them all. Like, only recently I've started using glazing. I know that glazing is not really anything new, but it's new to me. And if I didn't just jump in the deep end, I'd probably never use it, and my miniatures wouldn't look as good as I think they do now. I also want to achieve something with this video as well. I want to make this a place where people can learn and pass on their own tips and tricks through the painting. Like I say, everybody's different, everybody's got their own techniques. So if there's anything that you found successful for you, put it down in the comments and go down yourself and have a look, see what everybody's saying. You might just discover a new technique that benefits you. One of the things that I struggled with a lot in the beginning was I didn't really think I had the time to put into painting, and I soon realised that there was a few things that I could do when I wasn't able to just sit down and paint. And to be honest, the main thing that I found myself doing was while I was outside at work, I'd look at how the colour of things changed depending on the surroundings. So you'd see how the colour of a car changes during different times of the day, how different colours react in shadows. So for example, a brick wall does not go all the way to black when it's in slight shade. And I'd find myself thinking what colours I'd mix into the original colour to achieve that shade. You know, it's just silly stuff like that I'd find myself doing. And I feel like that's helped me stay motivated, as I try and test out those colours. I try and figure out, if I mixed in brown with that, would I lose any of that saturation, or would it stay true to that colour? Another thing I do is I keep a little notebook in my pocket, and I try and think of techniques and colours that I don't really use that often, that when I can actually sit down and paint, I can try them out and see if they're going to work and if I can implement them into my painting techniques. I am aware that I have gone a little bit off topic, but they're just a few of the things that I find help me and keep me motivated to paint. And obviously the main thing that I think people struggle with the most is how long it takes to improve, and the thing is, improvement takes time. So those models that I showed you at the start, I painted them in around 2020, and obviously at the time I'm recording it's 2023 now, so I've had about 3 years to develop my skills. And another thing to note is, when I painted them, I could paint something in about an hour. Spent about an hour per model. Now you're talking about a week. I know there's probably a few of you right now that have heard me say that there was a jump of about 3 years, and some of you are probably thinking, I don't want to wait that much time. And to be honest, it hasn't felt like 3 years. If you'd have asked me, I'd have said I've been painting for about a year, not 3. And it's very easy to fall into the trap of being on YouTube and watching those videos where it's 5 tips to make you learn masterclass painting in 5 minutes. Obviously there is going to be some tips on there that will actually give you some improvement, but the thing is, to refine those techniques, it's going to take time. And to draw back on sort of the main point, while you're refining those techniques, I think it's best to take pictures of what you've been doing. If you can, even if you're just painting on a base, save the base or take pictures. You can look back on them and you can see how much you've improved over the time. So I've been painting this in the background. It's only been about 9 months since I painted that orc. And to be honest, I think I've improved loads. And I think that is a bit of a mixture of trying different techniques, putting the time in, and also watching what everybody else is doing. So as a little bit of an experiment right now, what I want you to do is I want you to find one of your old models, and I want you to sit down and I want you to have a look at it and compare that to the newest model you've painted. I know some of my audience doesn't actually paint miniatures, they just like watching people paint them. But if you do actually paint, I just want you to have a look at it and see how far you've come, and I want you to realise that you are a good painter. Every model that you paint, you are learning something new. Obviously you're going to make mistakes and you're going to learn from that. So the thing is, that model you're holding right now, save it. You can always strip it down at another time, take pictures of it like I say. But I want you to remember where you're at now, and then maybe come back to it and have a look at it in 6 months' time. And I want you to see just how far you've come, what you've learned. And even though it's cheesy, write a little message to yourself in the comments. Say what you want to learn, and then perhaps come back to the video 6 months' time. Reread the message that you put for yourself. Have you learnt those things? Have you decided to go a completely different direction? I also know that some of you also like to paint along whilst I'm doing these videos as well. You like to have me in the background, so I just want to say thank you to you. So just to summarise and make the last 10 minutes redundant, the main things to remember is techniques are always changing. You're going to be changing with them. Improvement is going to take time, and you shouldn't be afraid to make any mistakes, because to make progress you've got to make mistakes. Also, if you're going to be comparing yourself to anybody, mainly compare yourself to yourself. And if you're going to compare yourself to any of what many consider the masters, only compare it in a good way. Don't say, I can't do it. Try it. Now there is actually a little bit more footage to come, so I just want to take the time to say thank you for watching. I hope this hasn't been a complete waste of your time. I hope you've learnt something from this. And even if this video is useful to just one person, I think it's worth doing. If it was useful to you, don't forget to like, comment and subscribe. Even if you didn't benefit from it, if you think there's somebody that you know that'd benefit from watching this video and listening to the points that I've made, be sure to send it over to them. If you made it all the way to the end of the video, I just want to say a very special thank you. Thank you for not skipping. I know it's been a bit of a lengthy video, but once again, thanks for liking, commenting and subscribing. Let's have a look at the final model.